All right. All right, I gotta get jolly.
Psych yourself up.
Where's my brother? Where's my brother? Hey, man, we're trying to record here.
Whoa.
Have you seen him? Hey, it's me. Oh, okay, you're right there. Hey, is that you, Dan?
It is, and this is a beautiful reunion.
Don't. I forgot his voice. Don't talk to him. I went through a puberty, but don't talk to him. Why not? What'd you do to my boy? What did you do to my boy?
I don't know. I think that he left us for Joe Rogan's podcast, last I understood, so...
Oh, yeah. I guess that wasn't necessarily Dan's fault. Well, then, I'm out of here. Well, Daniel.
Well, TK, here we meet again.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd return, but I figured I'm back now. God, my face is getting so red from laughing.
After the scintillating 5-star reviews from our WandaVision recap, we had at least like 6 people tell us how much they appreciated everything, and you just couldn't pass up that kind of opportunity for publicity.
I couldn't. Yeah, before I met you guys, I wasn't making enough money. Now I am rolling in the Benjamins, as people say. I said that this voice came from puberty, but it came from those Benjamins.
Yeah, you got a little touch of sophistication there, TK.
Well, it's a new dawn. It's a new day. WandaVision's over. Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier is on, and I'm thinking that my new trend is probably going to be going through these phases, and right now I'm a little bougie.
You sound like an early 20th century oil baron.
Oh, no. If I was an oil baron, I'd sound more like this. But then again, that's more of a Daniel Day-Lewis type-esque.
TK, can you just give me a line read of I would drink your milkshake?
I would drink your milkshake.
There it is.
Okay, well, if you enjoy this conversation or just enjoy looking at me without hearing me talk, please go to the link in the info of this video. Thank you and good night.
Now, we do need to disclose that we cannot confirm or deny that if you purchase your own TK mug, that it will have the soothing honey-like tones of a dapper gentleman, such as our TK, who comes and frequents our podcast.
But, I mean, if TK, as he said it's a new dawn, new day, then maybe Travis William Larry Kemp, the head of TK's, could add in a speaker to certain ones for like an extra $2 a bottle. And then you can have your own, like what do they call those things? Do you watch Rick and Morty?
A long time ago.
Okay, well, there's like little robots you can have that talk to you and shit. I don't know what they're called, but they're like just little robots. Not just Rick and Morty, just speakers, in general.
I don't know why we haven't integrated smart speakers with our water bottles yet, because it sounds like we could go that way.
Yeah, I guess you could do that. I mean, speakers shouldn't just be a speaker by itself. It should be something that you use all the time.
Something that you're going to bring around with you, not just sitting around your house. That's unhelpful, like 60% of your day.
Yeah, just like... I find it funny that cell phones aren't like
water bottles. I totally agree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, at least I mean, hey, I guess I can't complain because cell phones do absolutely everything. But like, have it like Leela, where like you have a bracelet and you can just have it on you. That way you don't have to carry it around. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly,
inventors are getting lazy.
Truly.
But you know who isn't getting lazy, or maybe sort of is?
Who?
Is the showrunners of the new Marvel television series, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, that transition, just slippery smooth.
Oh, slippery smooth, flawless victory. Flawless. So about 2 weeks after WandaVision?
Yeah.
I got a text from you. You're the second person it was like 10 minutes afterwards, but it was like later in the day. You were like, hey,
it's just out. Like, no fanfare or anything. It's just here it is.
You know what it was though? It was everyone talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think it overshadowed Winter Soldier and Falcon, because I was just thinking about that all the time, and I completely forgot that this was supposed to start right after WandaVision. So it was a nice little treat to come home to.
Mm-hmm. Was it a nice little treat? Was it?
The first episode was. By the time that audiences watch this, you'll be watching our conversation on the first 2 episodes. So the first episode was really, I liked the first episode a lot. What we have is, if you don't remember, viewers at home, Falcon was Captain America's sidekick, and Winter Soldier was Captain America's old best friend, who's a super soldier. Who, when we see them, it's taken place after the blip. After Captain America gave Falcon his shield, Sam his shield, and they're separated, and Sam decides to get rid of the shield, which is what everyone's talking about. Which I'm like, I don't care too much. But I will say that before that we see that scene, we have a really, really, really good action scene of Sam taking down some terrorists via planes and like sky like acrobatics,
canyon
I guess,
flying and whatnot. So here's just something that I wanted to start off with talking about tonally, which is kind of problematic with where Marvel has gone. Back at about like, so we saw Iron Man 2008, and then there was this kind of like tonal meandering for a little while, and eventually we got to Captain America, which was pretty bombastic, but it also featured Captain America using guns, raiding Nazi compounds or Hydra compounds in this situation. Yeah. So it's like, we absolutely know Captain America kills people. But then we got into Winter Soldier, then directed by the Russo brothers, and it had a completely different tone. There's a lot of crunchy hand-to-hand combat, but there was kind of like
knockouts instead of murder.
Yeah, there was still a surprising amount of violence. You know, it just, a lot of it doesn't happen like directly on screen, but kind of a Bourne Identity level of violence. It just had a Bourne Identity kind of aesthetic. So now Falcon and Winter Soldier is carrying some of that aesthetic. However, it's into an age where like Falcon doesn't kill. There's a line in the second episode, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but they're trailing some guys that they're supposed to be trailing, and Bucky says, let's just go in and take him out. And Falcon is like, we're not assassins. And I'm like, in the opening 10 minutes of the show, you killed no fewer than 10 people, either directly or indirectly.
I would say directly. I'm trying to remember the first scene in general, but I do remember because I kept because now when I watch superhero stuff, like I'm very critical. Like I personally don't care if superheroes kill certain terrorists or whatever. But there were a couple parts because like I'm pretty sure he took out someone's parachute at least once.
He blows up a bunch of helicopters with dudes in them. But you don't see somebody dies, so I guess maybe
no. You don't see it on screen, so technically he didn't kill them. I think that's their thing. I think their justification is I've already given up on this. Their justification is, well, I'm not going to go shoot someone in the back. I'm not going to shoot them immediately. Yeah. I want them to look me in the eyes when I kill them.
Right. And I think that I bring this up because for me, it's an element of tonal incongruity. with a lot of Disney stuff now, or not Disney, I should say just Marvel stuff. I don't want to keep on blaming Disney because technically
it's really easy.
They're funding Marvel Studios, but Marvel Studios is still its own enterprise. It's just that like, it's this continuous issue of like, you can't tell us that like violence is a problem while you still have us rooting for violence. And that's something I just feel like I'm going to be talking a lot about when it comes to this show. So getting ahead of myself, but I think that all the high flying effects and everything were handled fairly well. Unfortunately, it's another situation of this scene literally has no purpose other than to hook the viewer with an action scene, because there's, of course, that quick talking. The LAF are trying to target some guy right outside of Tunisia, and
we don't have jurisdiction.
And we don't have jurisdiction. And Sam goes, LAF ? As if, what is this? And the response is, yeah, they're high powered. Literally, the words out of the debriefer's mouth is, yeah, they're high powered. So Sam has this entire thing taking out these like mercenaries and getting back a hostage. And when he's debriefing with a guy who was like his eyes on the ground, they have the sharpest pivot away from what he was just doing into, okay, wait, but pay attention to this thing that's actually going to impact the story. So the character says like he's on his phone, the character that's like debriefing with Sam, and he's like looking around. He's like, oh, LAF guys, they're trying to make a buck off violence. I can understand that. And then a little mark pops up and it's like that red handprint. He's like, these are the guys you should really be paying attention to. And I'm like, that's it, huh? Like the first 10 minutes literally didn't have anything to do with the story. No. Like, why didn't you open it up with like a reveal of these flag smashers or like an incident with them or something? And like,
well, I would consider it more of like a cold open of like, this is what Sam's going through right now.
This is what he does,
yeah. And I personally, I'm okay with that because I thoroughly, because when I heard about this show, even though I've never been like negative about Sam's character of Falcon, but like there's only so much air shit you can do, I guess. And I thought that they made it very entertaining. So like to me, it's kind of a like James Bond, not James Bond-esque, but like a James Bond cold open where the opening scene that we're about to watch, has nothing to do with everything else. So I'm okay with that. However, I will agree with you on a couple things. One, when they do that cell phone thing, we're like, the red means bad. I don't remember this, but I'm 99% sure. And I don't know if I've ever said this in a podcast before, but there was probably weird computer sounds on that cell phone, like bleep, bloop, 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 probably. And I'm getting tired of movies doing that. I don't understand why they're making noises that we've never heard in real life ever. They need to stop doing that. But two, whenever they do that, they do the 20-second exposition of bad guys, this, that, this. I used to play it back, those scenes, because they would do it so quick, because what their intention is, well, the audience isn't going to know what we're talking about. We're just going to say what's going on with very little explanation so we can move the story forward. But we're also going to use certain words that they will understand to know that they are bad, or certain colors like red to know they are bad.
Yeah.
I used to play back those scenes all the time so I can have a fuller understanding. But that was the first one where I'm like, nah, I'm just going to keep going.
No. Yeah, that's what I mean, though, is that like we had, I think, about 2 or 3 minutes dedicated to that dry exposition that really carried no weight when like the introduction was there to be fun. However, it's also just completely disposable. And there could have been like some kind of integration of those elements. So you could cut that opening scene and you'd be losing a fun scene, but you wouldn't damage the narrative in any way.
I think it would have been better for them to have it a little more, because a little more involving with the main narrative, especially when you compare it to the second episode's action scene, which we'll get to soon. But yeah, I enjoyed that action scene, but when it came to the killing, and because I was thinking like, oh, this guy's going to be the main villain, but I don't think he I can't remember if the guy showed up. It is so disposable that I can't even remember.
Yeah. I think that my initial reaction to this first episode was that first and second episode is that they meander a lot and dip in places that could wind up being interesting, but it's really disjointed. And I kind of
clunky.
When
I watched the second episode, clunky.
Yeah, a lot of my commentary on these first couple of episodes are probably going to come back to how like discombobulated I felt watching this. But yeah, so we have this opening action sequence. The other main beats of story and conflict in the first episode are Sam's reluctance to become Captain America and take on this other identity. Bucky in therapy, mandated therapy for as basically his part of his pardon, because for those unfamiliar with what had happened in the other movies, Bucky was basically mind controlled by a Hydra to do terrible things throughout history. And because of his heroics in the previous films, he was given a pardon. There's something to do with Sam's sister having a fishing boat that they can't afford anymore. And Sam is trying to get that like off the ground by either using his status or going to a bank or something like that. And
to get a loan.
Yeah. And there's some kind of rigmarole at the bank that because Sam had disappeared in the blip for some time, he technically like ceased to exist for a while. And now that there's also no Avengers, like his entire status is like up for grabs. And he gets denied, which seemed like the strangest thing to me, because I'm like, that is not a superhero problem. Like,
no, it was
it's so weird.
What I found interesting about it was, this was something that they could expand on as well, because I love that they did this blip thing, because it's a whole nother world, but they don't really like go super far into this whole other world, because what the bank manager explained was, yeah, this has been a huge problem for everyone that's been gone for 5 years. It's kind of, he doesn't say this verbatim, but what I'm gathering is it's hit the economy pretty hard, but like, this is a huge issue.
Yeah.
that they should have like, Sam should have like done had like a montage research of him looking through papers or some shit. Be like, what the fuck? This is real? But there kind of wasn't. It was kind of like, yeah, sorry, but yeah, this sucks to be you.
I completely agree. And I think that's an issue with both WandaVision and this, is that the blip is often used as an inconvenience rather than something like absolutely tragic that shook up existence as people knew it. So when we need some kind of like introductory conflict, we can kind of blame it on the blip without going further into like the emotional toll or the trauma that inevitably had, because half the people on Earth were just suddenly gone.
Yeah, usually, at least for now, what we've dealt with are, besides, so I guess the only time that this universe has really dealt with it is in Endgame after the 5 years later, for that 20 minutes. That's where we've seen it, but we haven't seen it since. We've only been revolved around characters that have disappeared or have died. For instance, Wanda, or Monica Rambeau, she was gone as well. Falcon was gone, and Winter Soldier was gone. So I guess one out that they could have is, well, they weren't there and they have no idea what it was like. But I guess one thing that the production could have worked on was the environment and how it's done, not how this environment affects them specifically. Even though that's what we got with Sam, but it wasn't really expounded. I don't know if that's a word. Expounded on very well, but like walk around and see stuff. I don't know. It's an interesting aspect that I think that they should magnify a little more.
I feel like there was imagery, wasn't there, in either WandaVision or in this at some point, where there was like walls with lists of names of people who had disappeared. If that wasn't a thing, okay, that was Endgame. I feel like something like that is necessary to establish like the actual toll that the blip had in the world, and just the world building for hopping back into these stories. Yeah,
but who knows? I mean, they got plenty of time to do it. They might just try to be doing this TV show stuff. But so what are these flag fighters?
So that's another thing that's lumped into a couple more things that are lumped into episode 1. It's brought to the attention of Sam and Bucky that there is an anarchist organization called the Flag Smashers, which are they really called that? Right, and that's pretty much what the characters say. That's Sam's like initial reaction to the name Flag Smashers in scene, because it sounds like a 10-year-old's punk rock band name.
We're the Flag Smashers.
Yeah, it's not good, but I bet that appeared in comics somewhere.
Probably.
So that set up in episode 1, and then the strangest ending of any show ever. Probably not. I'm using hyperbole here, but it is really strange. Yeah. Is the last scene in episode 1 in which, surprise, the government has selected a new Captain America, and there are these shots of him walking out where we see from behind him. We don't see his face. They're obscuring it, and then they show him in like this zoom in close up, and it's like nobody we've seen before. And I'm like, what? Why was it built up like, oh my gosh, here's the surprise, it's no one? I thought it looked like Quentin Tarantino wearing the Captain America suit.
Yeah, they do have similar chins, don't they? So for me, I watched the trailer and I saw that there was a faux Captain America in there. So I kind of spoiled it a little bit for myself, but all I knew was that the comic books did this. That there is just some guy that they made Captain America. There's a little more I know, but I'm not going to say anything. But so I was expecting it to be some guy we didn't know. I knew who they casted for it. His name's Wyatt Russell. The actor's really good, but what's funny is he always has a beard in everything that he acts in. He was in this film called Overlord. He was in that Black Mirror episode, Playtests. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, he was fantastic in that. I think that he was the best actor I've ever seen that acted terrified. I think that he was the best terrifying actor I've ever seen. But again, all beards. So I knew this was the first. I think this was the first time I've seen him without a beard, and yeah, he looks like Quentin Tarantino. So I wasn't too mad at that, but I just loved all the hate that he got. Everyone are comparing, because he didn't have a line. They just showed that one shot of him, and everyone's comparing him to Loki. Like, well, we've had Loki for this long, and he's done this, and that. We've seen this guy for 5 seconds, and I hate him already. So that was kind of fun to watch. Yeah.
Wow. I did not have that kind of reaction at all. It was just kind of my reaction was more at the direction than the reveal, because it's like, I don't know if that was just an attempt to play with fans who are like excited to maybe see some kind of twist at the end of that first episode, and then it's like, oh, gotcha, it's not a twist. I'm like,
it's some guy.
Well, then why would you play it up like a twist?
Yeah, I guess when it comes to editing, it was kind of weird that you couldn't see his face, especially because when you see it, it is some weird chin-looking guy who looks like he should wear a beard all the time. But it was that was a strange reveal. But I am excited to see what they're gonna do with this guy because it's Wyatt Russell. Before we transition into episode 2, with Winter Soldier's storyline, I kind of dig his storyline. I was a little tired of. I'm tired of him going through depression. I understood like he was hanging out with this old guy because he killed his son a long time ago. Like I just got it. Let's move on, I guess. Which is fine that's part of a storyline. But what I really really liked was him going on a date for the first time in who knows how many years, and they didn't do that much, but like he's visibly nervous. He shows up with flowers. She's like, that's the most cutest old-fashioned thing I've ever seen. And they show him later and he's got like 6 beer bottles in front of him. And I think she may have mentioned like, wow, you can really throw those back. And it's probably because he's super old and maybe can't get drunk. But I did like that. I thought that was a cute little scene of him like trying to conform to the present time after being gone from so long in the past. But besides that, episode 1 was Now
you mentioned that you really liked it when we started this out. So after reflection, do you like it less or?
You make me like things less. No, it was, no, yeah, I liked it. Well, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. You should call me out on that. I liked it. I guess it's because why I'm saying Matt is because we're getting to episode 2 where I got really angry. But episode 1, I don't like this flag smasher crap. I don't fully understand it. It's not grasping me well enough. Although they don't reveal too much in episode 1 about them. I liked Sam's opening scene. I do like this new Captain America. I do like Winter Soldier's storyline. What was it? There was something. I guess I like everything. There's something I don't like. Oh, fuck, I can't remember what it was, but there's an element to this that I didn't enjoy. It's just everything seemed to get ruined for me in this second episode, where you think that I'd like it more because we have Sam and Bucky reunite, and we have that fun quirkiness. But this is where it gets really, really weird, like clunky is what I'd say. Yeah. So, you didn't see how? I don't think you're a Fast and Furious fan, are you?
I am not. I've never watched a Fast and the Furious movie.
Never watched one of them?
Nope.
Oh, man.
Just haven't gotten around to it.
They're so fun. They're not good, but they're so fun. Hobbs and Shaw is a spin-off movie with Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham. And when you watch it, if you watch the trailer, it's them saying, you know what you look like? You look like a giant boulder. I'm like, well, if you weren't talking British, and it's like, oh, they're making quirky snaps at each other. That's, kind of what this was, except their chemistry was a little bit better, but they weren't saying like clever things, just kind of like, oh, really? Oh, this? Oh, nice face, you. Oh. It's just like,
yeah,
it's nothing.
Like while they're following a suspected terrorist organization as well, and yeah, you're right. It's like the completely misplaced kind of was it Shane Black-esque humor?
Yeah.
There's a little. But
I
bit
like
of that.
Shane Black
right.
here.
Shane Black.
It's not done well, executed well enough though.
Exactly. I think that Shane Black carves out space for it better. Whereas in this one, like they almost get spotted because they're following the suspected flag smashers, and they knock something over because they're bickering. It's like, that's okay. I don't know. Like the tension in the scene has kind of been undercut now because there's some silly back and forth.
Yeah, and I like it when they knock over something, they look and then they look away. So here's the second that I got angry at this episode. So first of all, one thing we learned in episode 1 was their therapist, or Bucky's therapist, takes his phone from him, and she looks through our missed calls. Like, so some guy named Sam has called you like 72 times, you haven't answered. So we cut back to episode 2, and Bucky's there, and he's like, why'd you give him the shield? Why'd you give him the shield? And he's like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, you called him 72 times. You did want to talk to him at one point, but whatever. Right. I'm coming with you. No, you're not. No, you're not. And then they have this scene on the plane where Bucky's like, what's the plan? And Sam is just like, nope, no way. I don't think so. And Bucky jumps off the plane anyway. The first thing that Sam says is like, oh, that was fun to watch or something like that. And he goes, okay, head north. Like, oh, so
there was
now
a plan.
There was Maybe. A plan. Maybe. And he heads north, and there's this weird scene of like, yeah, keep going straight and stuff like that. And like Bucky like meets up with Sam, who's like already standing there. It was just super weird. I didn't like that. I didn't like that Bucky tried really hard to like join in on the plan. Sam's pushing him away. They're together. And then it gets to that point where it's like, well, let's go kill them. It's like, no, we're not assassins. And he gives him a look, and then he like does something, and Sam goes, oh man, I was just kidding. It's like, you weren't kidding. You're not an assassin. These lines are very weird. They weren't placed correctly.
Yeah.
It really angered me.
It's kind of what I'm getting so far, is that like there isn't a very well established voice for these two characters together, because they've always been together in the context of Captain America. And so, I mean, I guess that's kind of part of the narrative, is like these two characters, the connective tissue between them was Captain America, and now that he's gone, like, what are they doing together?
How are they going to put up with each other?
With each other? Yeah.
But that's the only element that the writers are using, is just that these two characters don't get along. So write that.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's it.
This is another episode 2. Kind of highlights some underlying like nagging that I felt during episode 1, and I couldn't quite identify it until episode 2. And that's how I think a lot of scenes are played out with emotional impact in mind, without consideration for like the logical, like, hey, wait a second, of what happens in a lot of these scenes. And I think that like some of that back and forth kind of highlights that, of like, this isn't really appropriate for the scene at all, but like you just kind of want to elicit a certain like emotional disconnect between these two characters, even if this isn't like the place and time for it.
Or you can have just a different way. I don't know. I just want them to think more on their dialogue of just the repetitive, like, don't start with me. Like, it's just these repetitive lines that you hear all the time, or just have a reason for them to do it. Not just, well, they don't like each other, that's why. Okay, well, why doesn't he want him to help right now? Because he doesn't like him.
Right.
But why doesn't he want him to help right now? Because he doesn't. No. There's more to it than that.
Which they do try to bring up in the one scene where I don't know if we're skipping ahead to it too fast. We might have to double back here for a second. But Sam and Bucky are forced to go through counseling together. And again, it's played up as kind of a goofy, like, antagonistic buddy situation before it becomes deep. And Bucky asks Sam, like, why didn't you take the shield? Why didn't you become Captain America? And Sam's insistence is just like, comes down to basically, I have my own identity. Like, y'all need to stop like pushing another identity on me.
Right. Yeah. And I hope he expounds more on that. I hope he elaborates more on that too. Because I feel like there's a good acting scene that could happen with that Anthony Mackie for that.
Yeah.
Because I think all he said was, I just thought it was the right thing to do. That's it. Like, I was okay with that for now. We still got 4 more episodes left. I did only I thought that scene was a little forced with their their odd couple, esque stuff.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, but the one part that I really liked, and I think it was ad-libbed, where she was like, sit closer, and they do that knee part, and they do this at like the exact same time. He's like, what you like, it was just one little part like that, and It seemed genuine. Like, they leaned in it, like I said, I think it was improv. It seemed so genuine that I enjoyed it. It wasn't just, oh, I can't hear what you're saying, I heard the wind, it was weird, even though they didn't actually say that, but still.
So I think coming back around, we had left off talking about Sam and Bucky both jump out of the plane. They rendezvous at this one place. They're following suspected flag smashers, and they're loading something into a truck, and it seems like they're also loading a hostage. So they follow behind. Bucky runs with his super soldier speed and jumps in one of the trucks. In
front of one of the trucks, by the way. Did you notice this?
Yes, and this is one thing that I want to get to.
He ran directly in front of that truck.
Which is, again, another way where, again, despite the fun of that first opening scene, and maybe the fun of the scene, the action is not well directed. It's pretty silly. And I think, again, a lot of that is because it's putting effect before any kind of like logical connection. So Bucky hops in the back of the truck, and there's a woman that peeks out, and she's super timid and everything. And I'm like, and then she smiles and like kicks him out of the truck. And it's one of those scenes again where it's like, it's so clear to me that you wanted this to have a particular effect when it did not make sense in the context or for the character. Because if anything, she probably would have just seen him come up and just like immediately shoved him out of the truck, because she had no reason to act coy and everything other than for indulging the audience. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, the truck that he jumps into and opens the door to is driving in front of another truck, and the truck behind them doesn't react at all. Like, the driver doesn't react or anything. And then there's this entire fight sequence with a bunch of these flag smasher peeps on top of these 2 trucks that are all the way through this sequence driving in parallel so that they can have this cool action sequence on top of 2 moving trucks. Faux Captain America swoops in and tries to like help Bucky and Sam. They're not really able to do anything, so Sam and Bucky kind of bounce while Faux Captain is trying to fight these guys. And at some point, I think that he like gets knocked off one of the trucks, like crashes into the windshield of a car that's been driving behind these trucks during this fight sequence for a long time, never thinking, I'm going to like pull over. Holy shit, what's going on? And then even when he gets off of the car, nobody gets out of the door or anything of this car that just has a human man fall off the back of a truck and crash in through the windshield.
Okay, but here's this. We currently live in a society that's all about like, oh my God, that's crazy. Oh my God, I need to record this. And
while they're still driving the entire time, like,
yeah, man, like, oh my God, yeah, you know that they gotta have like Avengers, like craziest videos, craziest like
okay, so
found
like
footage.
To your point, have somebody like step out with their phone or something and just pretend that this wasn't like an automated vehicle that just happened to be following behind the trucks.
What I loved about that too, I'm pretty sure that was what's Focap's Battlestar? His sidekick's named Battlestar.
Yeah.
Terrible name. Battlestar gets kicked on the car, and Focap goes, "You shouldn't have done that." And then like 20 seconds later, he gets knocked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Really quickly.
Like,
I was like, okay, who are you supposed to be? Now, I will say this about Focap. His opening scene was, I mean, it wasn't anything special.
Where he's being interviewed for ABC.
Well, I mean, that was okay. I just liked it. I liked the scene with him and his girlfriend. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Where he's like, yeah, this is a lot. And I don't know, it humanized him a little bit. I like that they introduced him through the introduction of this episode. I thought that was pretty cool. But again, due to clunkiness, like not everything after, but like, so the next time we see him is them saving Bucky and Sam, and they talk to them on the car, and you know, Sam and Bucky are like, no, screw you, we don't need your help. And going back to the prison, Bucky, so Bucky got arrested because they were in
so this
Baltimore.
is an awkward scene in general because following, like you said, following that entire interaction and the fight sequence, Bucky, like apropos of nothing, kind of just turns to Sam and be like, there's someone you should meet. And then cut to they're in Baltimore, and after a little bit of back and forth, they go in to see a guy named Isaiah, who's like an old vet who apparently had fought with Bucky at some point, and it starts to reveal that this Isaiah, this black guy, former vet, was a super soldier, sometime after Captain America. And where Captain America received fame and everything, Isaiah was instead basically imprisoned and tested on for like 30 years following his service, which it's actually gets into a little bit more of like the decent thematic meat and potatoes. There's again another scene where it's much more about effect than anything else, but like Isaiah loses his temper and there's like a tin of something on the table and he like tosses it and it embeds itself in the wall, and it looks like an Altoids tin. I don't actually know what it is, but I'm like, if anything, the tin would have just like exploded, but because you needed like a certain impact, it's now just like embedded in the wall.
I don't know science, but I think what they're trying to say is he threw it so hard
that again, it's just an odd thing of like
an odd little
impact
reveal
over things that make sense.
Well, here's my question: Did Bucky and Cap, actual Cap, were they both in ice all these years?
I didn't understand that either. I know that Bucky is but for some reason he didn't age like Cap and the other. I've never understood that about his character, and I'm not sure if I need to go back through the movies to like figure that out.
So Cap is on ice. I'm pretty sure Bucky was used as an assassin all these years. I'm not positive,
right?
And I think we should know this, but I don't. But that's why when I saw Isaiah, he was old, and he goes, "Oh yeah, we used to fight together." I'm like, "Oh, so he's another super soldier, whatever." But why is he old?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get why he's old.
And that's the same misunderstanding that I had at the end of Endgame when Captain America like decides to say back in time, and then they meet up with him in the future, and he's old, and I'm like, aren't you not supposed to age? I don't know how this works.
I don't know how it works either. If Bucky is if Bucky wasn't on ice, then that makes no sense, But if Bucky was somehow preserved, then fine. I'll buy that these guys age. But their life can be longer. But their skin ages. But that was very, very confusing to me.
Same. So right after that scene where they meet Isaiah, Sam is rightfully outraged because they're now understanding that the Flag Smashers are super soldiers, and Sam thought that Captain America was the only one. And not only did Bucky hide this from Sam, he hid it from Captain America as well. So, yeah, they get confronted in the streets by police officers in a very like well-trodden sequence of white officers, assuming that there's some kind of
this guy bothering you?
Yeah, this guy bothering you type thing, where it's like, yeah, I understand that's a real problem, but like it's also problematic to show like this is consistently how racism plays out in like mainstream entertainment conflicts. The big twist being it's Bucky that like missed his court mandated therapy and is arrested for that, which seems kind of a stretch, but like
clunky.
It's clunky, right? But so that gets them into therapy together. After that, they again meet.
Well, before they even get into therapy, Cap shows up, and this is where his character. I don't see why his character turned into this, but I can buy it that they just didn't show it. Maybe they deleted some scenes. But Cap goes, "Oh yeah, I released him, and we'll take it from here, therapist." And she goes, "Under whose authority?" And he goes like this. It's like, okay, he's getting a little drunk with power, but we didn't really see any of that. But I don't know. If I need someone to like sideways look at him, like even Battlestar to be like, "Oh, you did?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's my job." And he goes, "Oh, okay, buddy," like something.
Yeah, but they are kind of. To your point, yes, I appreciate that they humanize him at the beginning of the episode. They don't play him off as just a public figurine and doll or like puppet by military or corporate identity. But also like it's really hard to see like what his motivations are or who he's going to be exactly. So, he just kind of slowly slips into being a jerk kind of at the end of this episode, which is weird.
Yeah, he gets done talking to Sam and Bucky after trying again. And, oh my God, I wish I remember. And there was a line I was trying to remember specifically for this podcast, but they're walking in the street, them four. And oh my God, I wish I remember what the line was. Sam or Bucky says something very innocent, like, "We don't need your help." Something like that. Something very simple. Maybe it could have been like, "This coin is metallic." Something. And Battlestar takes a step forward. They're like, whoa, guys, don't fight. And I was like, whoa, what? He didn't say anything that bad. It was something so unimportant. It was ridiculous. But after that, at the end of that scene, they're walking away. And Cap goes, "All I know is you better stay out of my way."
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Because they, in the context of that scene, Sam and Bucky are basically like, Captain America, you're now like an official government entity. We're kind of just like,
free agents.
We can go handle this better. And that's when they get the reaction of, "Well, you better stay out of my way." It's like, hang on, you were just asking them to like help you out. And now it's like, wait, no, stay away.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, no.
It's stay out of my way. I don't want
really
you to know.
Unfortunate kind of like, I don't know who writes this or directs it. I really don't know, but it seems like a very like sophomore attempt at filmmaking. Maybe they've got a lustrous career in the industry. Maybe not. Maybe this is a first time venture, but there are certain elements of cinematic language that are put in place, much just like grammar, where it's like, yes, these things are arbitrary, but they also convey a certain like meaning because of the way we mutually understand them. And you can break those rules. You just have to understand them and have a reason for why you're breaking it. And in this case, it seems like a lot of irregular film grammar, not because they're trying to subvert expectations or try to get us to think differently about something, but simply because the foresight isn't there to say, hey, maybe these scenes should have been handled differently.
Yeah, and I think what it seemed like to me, I've seen this clunkiness before, especially with MCU, and it's my belief that my hope for the directors and writers' sake is that this was a pot that producers got their hands in. They're like, yeah, we won't. Hey, good job, but you guys got to do this and that and this. Or I'm seeing a lot of deleted scenes because it doesn't fit correctly at all. There are some scenes that just do not jive well whatsoever. So something is wrong. Either
something's off. Yep.
Something's off. Something is either reshot, deleted, or just like fucked with so much that it's not the original like thing. Yeah. Or maybe it was like, no, it was all the director's fault. She's like, I'm a genius because I'm looking her up. She's done a lot of she's done a shit ton of TV. I don't know if she's done any films, but she's done The Handmaid's Tale, 5 of those. Oh, okay. So she knows how to direct well.
Yeah,
Carrie Scogland.
So something that I really quick want to hop back to before we get back into this, that again feels like it's an element that's just incongruent with the rest of the show so far, is when we shift to the perspective of the Flag Smashers and how they're being labeled as terrorists, but their intentions are noble. And for some reason,
apparently they have a following too.
And they have a following. Yeah, that's the connection, is that like they're the product of a digital age phenomenon. They post over message boards. They're basically in the propaganda game, but they're also badass fighters. And the way that their dynamic works reminded me a lot of like the band of misfits from the old guard. For some reason, maybe it's the way that they interact, the way they dress.
Well, for one thing, also they might be super old as well, since they're super soldiers as well, and they treat each other like family as well.
I think that's it. It's that this whole like solidarity among them that seems out of place, but also like this deep melancholy and longing for like a place in the world, because one of the bits of dialogue was like, it'd be great if the powers that be in this world cared as much about the people who came back from the blip as the people who were left behind. So there's kind of like political turmoil, but in another scene that's meant to have like a point, it's supposed to end in poignant tragedy. It just had me laughing and going, what the heck? It's when they're loading up a plane full of like soldier serum syringes or whatever, and one of the guys is like, shoot, they're onto us, and I'm like, I don't know who. Okay, whatever, somebody's onto you. And he looks to the leader and he's like, I'll hold them off, you go. And she just nods, and then he runs over, and his solution to holding them off is to push over an electrical pole in front of the cars and then run into gunfire.
Run directly
into gunfire with no sort of like reason for doing so. Like, it doesn't make sense twofold. One, because like they're super soldiers, and like everything that Captain America has been through and whatever, he's been through a lot of shit and probably been shot. But oh no, they can like be punched and crunched and everything, but god damn it, bullets was their one weakness.
Well, here's one thing. So we never see Captain America run directly into gunfire.
I guess that's true.
He's probably been shot a bunch, but
he
not
usually
like
deflects it with a shield or something.
Yeah.
But also,
either way, this guy didn't have to just do that. Run directly
like, why
in.
Would you, of like their entire introduction is like this kind of guerrilla flash mob, like I don't know, it's some trickery. So like, why would your initial instinct be, let me push something into the cars so that delays them enough and then run towards them, rather than like running away and trying to do anything else to prevent them from getting to this airplane?
Yeah, it did make sense. That did make me laugh as well, and it was a long scene too. Like they played it in slow motion. It's
incredibly prolonged, and it's very melodramatic, and just doesn't fit tonally with the rest of the show or Marvel fanfare in general.
And we don't care.
We don't care. Like, I didn't know that guy. Like, sure, he sacrificed himself for their cause. Like, I get it. That's okay. They have some kind of nobility. They're not like just scum of the earth, bad guys. I already knew that we were going to have some kind of like reckoning with their cause because we've had scenes from their point of view. But like that ham-fisted melodramatic sacrifice of one of their own really just hurt my perception of those characters rather than help them. So it's a weird thing of like, there are places and ways to do this, and this was not well thought out, maybe.
No.
So yeah, coming back to your points on like, something feels off. This feels like it might be executive hands stirring the pot. It might be a case of there are scenes that we're just not seeing make it into the cut. I will say that it's ultimately very disappointing because this is the first time probably since Winter Soldier where there was any kind of actual like real world political subtext to the show that's going on. And I think that Winter Soldier still stands as the pinnacle of that because it's about Captain America in the 21st century when things are no longer black and white. We kind of get into that in here. We get into a little bit of identity politics and race relations, but scenes move a little too fast to ever lean into that stuff, which I would be super into. It's again, almost similar problems that I had with the old guard of like, there are elements in here that I could see being very cool and being very into, but those feel shoehorned in at the expense of having extended fight sequences and having like melodrama between a band of renegades and having this buddy, you know, quippy back and forth with Sam and Bucky. And at the end of both of these episodes, I just got the feeling of like, just choose a direction.
Yeah, choose your somewhere. Lane. Yeah, you even messaged me that as well, and that's why. And I guess for the first episode, I never had that feeling. I never had that feeling because you have two different subplots because they're not reunited. And now, you know, one thing that they could have done as well, because whenever you have two different storylines meeting as one, you have to make it cohesive and follow along a certain lane that doesn't veer off into 17 different directions for no reason. Mm-hmm. But not only are you having these characters reunite and you're not doing it very well, You're introducing us to FoCap, who I can't tell what his intentions are.
Yep.
You're introduced, and he's joining in on this as well. He has his own thing for one scene, but then now he's in with them. And you got these flag smashers that we don't know at all. And towards the end of the episode, we're supposed to feel empathy for.
Yep.
For one scene. And then we're supposed to feel bad for because of that one previous scene. I don't care. You got I just think that, but again, who knows? They got 6 episodes. For one thing, that's literally a mini series. That's not a one season series. You could call WandaVision a one season series with 9. This is a mini series. So maybe they're speeding along to something, maybe, but it doesn't seem like it. Hopefully so. Hopefully something big happens, like I don't know, like, oh, half the world's zombies. Not literally zombies, but, something like that. Like something goes so awry that it's global or something like that. I need something really big to happen. Really.
I feel like that's got to be the issue. I think that's kind of where they were leaving it off at the end with another really weird cliffhanger and reveal of somebody that we don't know at all, but it seems like we're supposed to. And
we do.
I think that character is supposed to be an entity that both the Flag Smashers and, Falcon and Winter Soldier will all eventually team up against this like one evil presence that everybody can come together to hate and destroy.
Either that or he'll be the Hannibal Lecter to this series, and maybe they'll bring him back later. But you didn't recognize who that was?
No.
That was the the main villain of Civil War.
Oh, weird. Yeah, because that guy's the most forgettable element in like any Marvel movie.
Yep. Because Civil War, like, one thing about Civil War is you have it's what makes it really dope is how it's Iron Man versus Captain America, not superheroes fighting superheroes for no reason, because there's no reason for it besides superheroes fighting superheroes. But I did like the writing of like, well, I thought you were supposed to be my friend, and I kind of like that, that shit.
Sure.
And the fight scene between Bucky, Cap, and Iron Man, that was dope. But like, as I'm watching this movie, every time they show that villain, I'm like, oh yeah, you caused all this. How did you do that again? Because I forgot. But at the end of that movie, Black Panther decides because that's the first movie that Black Panther's in, he decides not to kill him, which was Black Panther's big thing, but Zemo tried to like get him to kill him, and then he gets locked up, and that was the last time we saw him. And I can't remember why Bucky talked Sam in the end of this episode to say, well, we got to go talk to Zemo or Nemo. I think it's Nemo, honestly. I don't know. So forgettable, I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I can't tell if he's going to be the super big bad, but I think that the big bad is going to be FoCap. He's just too much. He's turning into a dick.
Yeah, he's a little too snarky.
He's a little too snarky. And maybe Nemo's going to be like the Hannibal Lecter, like, ooh, you got to fight. If you're going to kill a hen, you need a rooster or some shit. That's a saying, right?
It is now.
Yeah, it is now. But, it's another Marvel TV show. I dig that it's an hour long because there's more for me to like put up in arms, or I enjoy it even when it's all this shit. I enjoyed this more than the besides the Flag Smasher scenes, even though there was only 2 of them, the fake Hydra scenes in WandaVision. Yeah. I still enjoy this more than that. And I really, really hated that. And I'm really not as loving this season as much as I wanted to before. But then again, like you said, I liked the first episode. I didn't like the second.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
I'll be curious to see where it goes. Not gonna write it off just yet, but
they do got to lean into this politics thing more.
They gotta lean into something. It's
not all things.
Not all the things, because man, you served up a lot of things to come back to. But yeah, it would be nice to see another Marvel product with something to say.
Yeah. Well, until they say that thing, we will be watching and we will be learning. Again, this was another one that I thought was going to be like 20 minutes. Like, yeah, I didn't like it. Me neither. All right.
It's never.
But we get into it and we start saying it. So maybe we'll do one after the episode. It really depends on our schedules. But thank you for making it this far. If you did, I'm Tony.
And I'm Dan.
Whoa! Oh, I think I'm going to call this popcorn poppin', by the way.
Popcorn poppin'.